The burgomaster beckons the party to come inside as nightfall is quickly approaching. After a brief argument between Tarak and Quinn, the party make their way inside and continued to listen to the burgomaster's explanations. Most people in the town make their living working on small farms in the surrounding land, but the village also possesses a number of bakers, butchers, cobblers and other folk. People live clustered away in villages, each of which has a burgomaster. People dress in drab colors, eat boiled foods and tend small gardens of cabbage and herbs. Surrounding the fields are the Svalish woods, a dark and forbidding forest visited only by a few woodsmen, trappers and, of course, the Vistani. The Vistani are people like gypsies. They are not part of the Barovia community and maintain their own camp somewhere out there in the Svalish woods. They're also the only people to have gone through the mists and entered or left the lands of Barovia within the last 3 generations, the means of which is a secret they guard greedily. Otherwise, the Vistani are known for occasional trade and their ability to tell fortunes. They are also feared for their ability to curse people who cross them. The burgomaster suddenly realizes that the party members are growing increasingly apprehensive. "I'm sorry, I'm sure you would like to know more about Castle Ravenloft and the vampire Strahd." Castle Ravenloft stands on a fortified peak overlooking Barovia. The castle is solid stone, tall and foreboding. It's home to Barovia's current ruler, Count Strahd von Zarovich. No one who enters exits its grounds alive, safe for Strahd himself and his trusted allies. All manner of rumors persist about what goes on there. Strahd himself was a man of noble birth. He spent much of his life serving causes of goodness and law, most notably as a warrior and leader of armies. Originally Strahd was dedicated and a brilliant general. He led forces in a 20-year guerrilla resistance war against the invading Turks who had swept into Barovia from the north and overran everything. Due to von Zarovich's military genius and effective leadership, the tide was eventually turned and the entire province was later reclaimed. Years of such service took their toll upon him, however, and by the time he reached middle age, he came to believe he had squandered his life and his youth. With this dark mood upon him, he assumed lordship of Barovia, taking as his residence the pre-existing castle known as Ravenloft. From this position of power and security, he called for members of his family long unseated from their ancestral thrones to join him, including a younger brother named Sergei. Sometime after this reunion, the Count himself fell in love with a young Barovian woman, Tatyana Fedorovna, though she rejected his affections in favor of the younger Sergei. Strahd became obsessed with his brother's fiancée. Filled with despair and jealousy, and brooding a growing hatred for Sergei, he made a pact with death, a pact of blood. To gain eternal life, youth and to win the heart of Tatyana. His end of the deal was to murder his brother, Sergei, with a special dagger. On the day of Sergei and Tatyana's wedding, Strahd murdered his brother and then went mad when Tatyana fled from him. Strahd pursued the grieving Tatyana until she fell to her death off the castle's high balcony. Whether this was an accident or not is unknown. Strahd himself was shot down by the arrows of the castle guard. Even so, he did not die, and continue to this day to rule the land of Barovia as a vampire. He is known as the devil to the people here in Barovia. I'm not sure how you arrived here, but I can only hope that you are the answer to this village's prayers. The burgomaster answered the party's questions well into the evening, before Tarak finally broke the question and answer session. "I'm hungry, where can we get some food?" "I'm sorry," said the burgomaster. "I'm not much of a cook, and without a family I never plan on much. I would however recommend the village inn. They have decent food and suitable accommodations." As quickly as Quinn entered the inn's small lobby, the innkeeper sprang from his back room. "Can I?" stammers slightly. "Help you strangers?" "Yes. We'd like several rooms for the night." "Absolutely," said the innkeeper, but still staring wildly at the party. "We also have a small tavern if you so please." After a surprisingly tasty meal, the group began to talk about their plans and if it were possible to somehow notify the others to turn back. Just then Taraxale arrived. The waitress eyeballing Arjun, "What exactly are you? No offense meant, we just don't see other non-human races around Barovia very often. In fact, Gordonova said it's been several generations since anyone in Barovia has ever seen a non-human. You seem nice and all. Either way, I just wanted you folks to know that certain townsfolk might be a little uneasy around you, that's all." As the night wears on, the tavern patrons become more accepting of the party members and they gradually begin to pull their chairs closer to the group so they can hear all the answers to the many questions being asked. Finally Arjun, weary from the long day, told Tarak that he was going to step outside and get some air. When Arjun awoke, he was alone. He tried to remember what had happened. Where could he be? The last thing he remembered was when a man with piercing eyes and a long cape approached him on the dark street outside the inn. It had to have been Count Strahd, the vampire. Arjun knew that he was deep inside the castle now. Outside the castle the sun should be high in the sky, but he had to quickly find his way out before the vampire awoke to finish whatever foul plot he began last. The sun sank quickly as Arjun worked his way through the dungeon. Things looked very bleak as Arjun could hear the vampire's coffin opening and no exit was anywhere near. Arjun continued to quickly search from room to room, slaying a wraith and blazing skeleton one right after the other. Luckily, Arjun found a wand of teleportation that would soon turn the tide of battle in his favor. The dungeon continued to pour out nasty monsters, partially due to the eerie songs of the damned. Arjun sidestepped to gargle eyes, and as he neared the dungeon exit, his distance between a blazing skeleton and the vampire Strahd himself had closed to just a few meters. Just then Arjun pulled the wand he had earlier found and teleported both Strahd and the skeleton back deeper into the dungeon. He quickly explored forward and after killing a wolf he found the stairs out, just as Strahd turned the corner.